Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner. And joining me as always is Ash Burns. Ash, how are you, my friend?
Do you know what? I'm surprisingly positive. I thought we'd come into this, effing and blinding and not, but I'm actually all right. Yeah, it could be due to the fact, as I said before, I've had a few beers, so it could get a bit dicey this podcast. But yeah, apart from that, not bad. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm quite surprised at how chirpy you are.
Yeah.
Judging by the tweet you sent me, I think it was yesterday, maybe even been earlier today.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that you might get a bit ranty, but there's still plenty of time left yet.
It's early days. Don't worry.
But yeah, apart from that, I'm good. Can't really complain. Obviously, well, we can because of the result, but we'll get into that now. We will, just for the benefit of all those listening, we are going to talk about the Chelsea game, of course. It is still quite fresh in our minds. And it's also going to be a bit of a season review, just giving our thoughts on the season as a whole, not just the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup. And then after that, we will read out some tweets as well. We did put a couple of tweets out today off the podcast account, asking you to give us your thoughts on the season and on individual players. So I'll read some of those out. We won't discuss those. I'll just read some of them out. But of course, we did put a tweet out as usual, asking for you to give us some things to talk about. So those we will discuss later on. So let's kick off with Chelsea then. Ash, 1-0 defeat, FA Cup. What were your overall thoughts on the game?
It was one of those. I don't know how many times I've said this season. It was one of those games, but it almost went the opposite of what I'd have expected us to do a couple of months ago. I thought Chelsea defended really well. I thought we were on the front foot for a large part of the game. I thought we played okay in patches. I thought we moved the ball okay, and I thought Chelsea were very, very. I don't want to say negative, but they had a one-track approach that they were going to take, and that was catch us on the break and get it to Hazard. And unfortunately for us, it worked. I think it just goes to show what our defense is like when we're doing stupid things like that and giving away penalties in that position. When it never should have come to that. We were far too high, I think, with no cover. Obviously, Phil Jones being Phil Jones, did what he does best. It was just so frustrating. Once the goal went in, though, I thought, well, do you know what? Numerous times this season, that's given us the kick up the backside that we've needed to go on and play well. But I thought after Chelsea got that goal, they just defended, they dug in, and they just froze us out. Really, there's no excuse for it. There was a few chances we should have got back into the game. Rashford's one right on half-time was a big one, I thought, where he fluffed his lines. Obviously, the Pogba header in the 87th, 88th, 89th minute, whatever it was an unbelievable chance, which he should be putting away. And I thought we were unlucky. I do think we were unlucky. I thought we probably deserved to go to extra time for the chances that we created and what we did. But apart from that, it was just frustration. And it typified, large parts of our season this year with just frustration and just we're not quite there yet. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think you've summed that up pretty well. I think 99% of people would say exactly the same thing. I thought the first half was typical of United, really. A very disjointed performance. There was no chemistry there. I think I've used that word a few times in the last few months as well. But again, for me, it just comes down to player ability and ability in terms of position, find space, etc. There's only one or two players in the squad that can actually do that. But yeah, that's what the first half was like for me. Second half, I thought was a massive improvement. We've seen a lot more attacking football, putting Chelsea on the back foot, getting a few shots off. Credit to Courtois, he did pull off a few good saves. We might have fluffed a couple of shots, but everybody fluffs a couple of shots in some games. Not every team has 100% shots on target.
Yeah.
But credit to Courtois, he did pull off a few good saves. And what frustrated me the most, and Mourinho did touch on this after the game, and fair play for him to saying it as well. But what annoyed me the most is that Chelsea did what everybody moans at Mourinho for doing.
Yeah.
Which Mourinho, if you ask me personally, I think he's barely done it at all this season, and that's part of the bus.
Yeah.
That is exactly what Chelsea did. From the moment they scored that goal, that was it then.
Yep.
They just parked the bus, and that was what was frustrating. Because they knew that we would struggle, because we do struggle to break teams down.
Yeah.
When they do that, we have done all season. And obviously Lukaku didn't start, so that didn't help us either, because Rashford is not exactly the big, strong bully in the box that we need.
No.
So that was really frustrating. Now let's talk about that penalty incident.
Yeah.
Now, Phil Jones.
Yeah.
We all know when he was signed, he was a promising young defender, big future ahead of him. Comparisons that were made to previous United players. You know what I mean? Duncan Edwards, yeah. And everybody thought, yeah, he could be the next big thing. What happened to him? I mean, that positioning when that ball came through to Hazard it's like he ran away from him.
Yeah.
And then gave him all that space, and then the tackle. You should have just David De Gea should have came out.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming De Gea, but
no.
Phil Jones was pretty much on Hazard. He should have just stayed on his feet and let De Gea come off his line or something. But that was just very, very poor from Phil Jones. I kind of feel sorry for him, really, because he wears his heart on his sleeve. He loves the club.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not good enough. You've got to have the talent to match that. But talk us through that. What were your thoughts when that happened?
Well, as soon as that, I can't remember who put the ball over to Hazard, but as soon as the ball comes in, as soon as the ball left the player's foot, again, I don't know who it was, and then in the replays and everything, you saw, as soon as that ball comes off the foot, you see Phil Jones dropping deeper, because he's terrified of getting beat on the shoulder. He's terrified of Hazard running, ahead of him. And it was, as soon as he does that, I thought, well, okay, he's tried to give him space, he's tried to contain him. He thinks Hazard's going to bring the ball down, and he's got him in front of him where he wants him. But, you're a centre-back. You're taller than him. You're stronger than him. You're bigger than him. Surely that ball comes over. You need to be tight to Hazard, and you need to be winning that header and pressurising him. And I think it's a collective. Obviously, it's Phil Jones's fault, but I don't think we've got the centre-backs, obviously with Chris Smalling and Lindelof and Marcus Rojo. God knows what happened to Bailly, but I don't think we've got those centre-backs that really are positionally aware enough to realise what's going on there. Because ideally what should happen is Phil Jones is pushing up. He should be attacking that ball ahead of Hazard, or at least trying to get as tight to him as he can. And Chris Smalling should just be circling round and dropping a little bit deeper, just in case something like that does happen, which it doesn't. And it's a bit of a lucky touch off Hazard's foot, let's be honest. He's touched it way too hard, but he's just got far too much pace for Phil Jones. And I don't know what he's doing. I really don't know. I think he's tried to slide in to get the block in. He's caught him. Hazard is always going to go down. A stiff breeze will put Hazard down. We all know this. And it's so frustrating, because I don't even think Hazard was looking to shoot in that position. He might have been looking to chop it back and put it across the box. And even if he does have a go, it's a tight angle. And I'm pretty confident with De Gea's ability to save that. So it was so frustrating. And as soon as Hazard's got past him, I thought, it's not going to be good with Phil Jones on him. So frustrating. It was, 100% the right decision. It was a penalty and a yellow card. Obviously, a lot of people calling for a red card, but obviously the rules have changed now.
I was just about to say to you, my next question was going to be, should it have been red? And then, if you would have said, I would have said, well, no.
A couple of seasons ago, it would have been a red card a couple of seasons ago, but very recently the law has changed. If the last man makes a genuine attempt for the ball, then you can't be, in double jeopardy and a penalty and a red card. Phil Jones has made a genuine attempt for the ball to try and get a foot in and block it. So, no red card, and it's the correct decision, spot on. And I thought there was a few decisions that the referee, as much as I hate Michael Oliver, he did all right, to be fair to him. He got the majority of the big calls correct. There was a few dodgy decisions against us. The Ashley Young one, the handball was a big one, but I thought he did all right. So, just frustrating all around.
Yeah, that handball one, what did you make of that? Did you think it was deliberate?
Well, it's so close to him, I think it's hard. But when you watch the replays, he does put his hand towards the ball. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows he's putting that ball out with his hand. So I think we were a little bit lucky there. It could have been a red card. I mean, it could have been a penalty. If that happens against us, we're all up in arms. But we were a little bit lucky there.
No, I think you are right. when you said, I think that is obviously why the decision wasn't given, is because of how close he was to the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, his arm was sort of down by his side a little bit to start with.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he flinched when the ball was kicked. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
I mean, there was a hint of, that it was deliberate, but again, I think because it was so close, the referee was just like, I can't really call that. And it'd be a bit unfair if he did, I think. So no, fair play to him. But yeah, I was thinking after the game, because I was, I wasn't exactly happy when the game finished. But I thought to myself, do you know what? We actually give it a good go in the second half, and Chelsea just parked the bus. And I thought, if that was a league game, I would say we deserve at least a point out of this.
Yeah.
We definitely didn't deserve to lose that game.
No, we didn't.
I won't say Chelsea. I mean, Mourinho said Chelsea didn't deserve to win the game. I think they did, because they'd done what they had to do. They got the goal and they defended very well. For the most part. Obviously, he did manage to get a few shots off, but then Courtois was there to save it, and which is what David De Gea does for us. And we say, that's his job. That's what he's paid to do. So the same goes for Courtois as well. Chelsea did their job. They executed their plan spot on. They deserve to win it, but I don't think we deserve to lose it. I mean, you just got to look at the stats. Nearly 70% possession, triple the amount of shots they had. We definitely deserve something out of that game. Obviously, if it was a league game. Anything else you want to add on the Chelsea game?
I don't think so. No, it was just one of those, isn't it? It was just frustrating. You don't want to go into the 11 now, or do you want to leave that for after?
Yeah, let's do that now. Yeah, so those most of you will be aware. Me and Ash started this little competition where we predict the starting 11, and then whoever gets the most right in that week gets a point. As you all know, we are tied 1 point each at the moment. If it's a draw, there's no points, and this is the decider essentially. So Ash, how many did you get?
I got 9 out of 11. It was De Gea. I went with the back five. De Gea, Valencia, Jones, Smalling, and Young. So essentially, I got the back five right, but there was no Bailly in the squad in the first 11, so that was wrong. Then I had Matic, Pogba, Sanchez, Lingard, and Lukaku, and we didn't have Lukaku in the team as well. So it's 9 out of 11.
I'm laughing because I too got 9. The 2 players that I got wrong, I had Lindelof and Smalling down as my centre back pairings. I did not see Jones coming into that. And obviously I put Lukaku up front, assuming that he was going to be fit for the game. So 9 each. So we've drawn 2-2 then.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that.
We'll start again next season. Okay. So that's the Chelsea section done. So any of you listening, let us know what your thoughts were on the Chelsea game. Although I'm pretty sure you've probably all been fed up of airing your views on Twitter. So give us your thoughts if you want to. Should we move on then to the season review then, Ash?
Yes.
The season's finished. We may as well have a little chat and give our thoughts on how the season went. Actually, let's go to Twitter first, because I did put a tweet out from the United States. I'm just going to find that tweet now whilst we're here. Just got to find that. Basically, asking you guys, what your thoughts were on United season now that the season is finished. We did have quite a few replies. Just getting the tweet now. Here it is. So quote this tweet and sum up United season in a few words. The best will be read out on tonight's podcast. So we've had a few replies on that one. So let's start with Pontus Cantona 7. A positive thing is that we feel second place is a disappointment, closer to the Fergie days. But with that said, our style of play is the most disappointing part of it all. Jose can't find the lineup. We have the players, but don't use them, or use them wrong. No title can fix that. That first bit is definitely true. A positive thing is that we feel second place is a disappointment, which it is really. We want to win the league. But for me, though, if you compare that to last season, I'm quite pleased to finish second. And then I can't pronounce that name. So Ifealua.
That was good.
Ifealua. I reckon it's got to be close. Let me know. Improved, but can still improve. Very generic there, but true. Very true. Brandon A. Didier at United Boss 101. The players are soft, arm around the shoulder nonsense. Yes, some players are youngsters, but they are not children. They're millionaires playing professional football at the highest level. I love that tweet.
Yeah,
I love that tweet because it's spot on, isn't it? I mean, you're playing. Yeah, if you're, I'm not gonna go into it because the tweet says it all, but I totally agree with that. Cam Ballocks at Cam Ballocks. Who do you think United could get that is a Roy Keane type of player? That's sort of off topic, so I'm just going to brush over that one. But thank you for your tweet anyway. Ash, what are your thoughts on the season as in general? Let's start with the Premier League. Our Premier League campaign. How did you rate that?
Mediocre. I thought we could have done a lot better, but I thought we did. If you'd have told me we were going to finish second at the start of the season, I'd have been quite happy. I obviously want to win the league every season, but progression is it's a steady climb, isn't it? For the majority of the time. So I think going from sixth to second and playing the type of football and some of the poor performances that we put in this season, if we can turn a couple of them around, we can shoot even higher up. So I thought it was okay. I thought there was some very, very good performances, and I thought there was some absolutely diabolical performances, some of the worst I've seen probably ever, to be honest, some of them. But I thought, second place, obviously that no one was catching that City team. So to be the best of the rest and to play in the manner that we have played and put in some of the performances that we have done, I think that is a positive. I really do. Back in the Champions League through the normal route, getting second place, automatic qualification. We'd have taken that all day. So yeah, I'm not too dishappy, especially the second half of the season. The first half, as well as we did, and as many wins we put together, and we were knocking teams out the park 4-0 and whatnot. Yeah, that's great. But the second half of the season, I think that April period, wasn't it, where we beat all of the top six. I thought that was a massive positive, and I think the players have got to draw on that next season. We can do it. We've got the mentality. Most of the players have got the talent to do it. It's just applying themselves. And I've got a few little little speculative thoughts on why our form has dropped, but I'm sure we'll come to that in a bit. But yeah, it was mediocre. If I had to rate it, I'd probably rate it a 6.5 out of 10.
Fair enough. I think I would rate it a bit higher than that, if I'm honest. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you compare it to last season. The position is obvious, right? Second against sixth, big improvement. We won a lot more games this season, 25 compared to 18. We did lose 2 more, but we're second. We won a lot more games. That's the important thing. We won, I think, 7 more games than we did last season. We only lost 2 more. Goals scored, 68 against 54. So it's not a huge improvement, but it is, a sizable improvement. Goals conceded, we conceded only 1 less, but then again, last season our defence was fantastic as well. Second best defence in the league, I think it was, after Tottenham. Yeah, might have even been, and 19 clean sheets against 17. So there's improvements everywhere across the board. I think if I was to give it a rating, I'd probably go 7.5 or 7.5. I don't think it was. I mean, if we were finishing sort of 4th, 5th, or 6th, then I might have said 6.5. That was pretty poor, but. No, I'd say 7. Improvements everywhere, all over the pitch. I think the only thing that is worse than last season is the amount of shots that we've had. So in terms of converting build-up play into creating chances. Yeah. I can't remember. I think I did see a figure, but it's something like 579 shots on goal last season, 512 this season. So that's not a huge difference. It averages like 2 a game. You can have 2 shots in the space of 10 seconds in a match. I mean, so it's a very small difference. But that's the only thing that was worse than last season is that we didn't actually have as many shots, but we scored more. So we're more clinical. And I think we owe that really to Lukaku, who's our top scorer. Without him, You know, if we didn't have Lukaku in our squad this year, we'd be knackered.
Yeah, we would have been.
So yeah, I think the Premier League is a lot of positives to take from it. Yeah, sure, the start of football hasn't been. It has been great at times earlier on in the season. We were flying for most of it.
Yeah.
And then I think that's a bit of a fluke there with a lot of the players, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. I think some players were on blistering form, which you would never have expected, i.e. Lingard, who played a big part in the good run that we had earlier on in the season, as well as Pogba. He shined as well at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So overall, I think our Premier League campaign has been good, not bad, not average, not brilliant, but good. Room for improvement, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
How about the Champions League?
Oh God,
disappointing.
Yeah, well, started off all right. Started off, but did we win? Did we go unbeaten throughout the group stage? Or
I don't know if we went unbeaten, but I know we finished the group with 15 points. If you're quick at maths, you could probably work that
out. Oh, so we lost one then, I think. Oh no, wait, 15 points.
I think it was 15 points. Was it 15 points?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, sure it was.
Because you play the 3 teams twice, didn't you? So it's a maximum of 18 points. So we might have won 5 and lost 1.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, started all right. You want to get through the group, winning it, and then what happened after that? Do you know
it's Sevilla, wasn't it?
Was it Sevilla? Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was.
Get that?
Yeah, no, I knew we went out to Sevilla, but I wasn't sure if that was the round of 16 or the quarters. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, that was round of 16.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that first leg really just did us in against Sevilla. Away. I mean, I'm torn between.
Oh, wait, was it the round of 16? I'm doubting myself, and I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, that first leg for me, it says everything, and it's caused us such an amount of problems. I'm torn between whether or not I want to play home or away in the Champions League in the first leg, but I think the away leg is the most important. I think you've got to go for it in that away leg. And then, whether that's the first game or the second, whatever happens, you have to go for it in the away leg because you've got nothing to lose, in a sense. In the sense that if they bag a goal, if you get a goal, essentially you're still winning, if you know what I mean. So you've got to get an away goal. That's how I've always approached Champions League football, and I think I'll always approach it like that. You have to get an away goal, and we just didn't. It was so mediocre, it was so boring, and Sevilla just thought, well, do you know what? If you're not gonna really press us, we won't do anything. And I think that Sevilla game was that the game where we only had one shot on target, and that was McTominay. I think. Yeah. Horrendous, awful. And I think that, in the second leg, we invited pressure on us, and I think Sevilla approached the game how we should have approached the first leg. They were frustrated, but they caught us on the counter quite a few times in that second leg. We were a little bit lucky, and then that man Ben Yedder, as you rightly said, come on and he punished us, and it was too late. It was too late for us to go for it then. So I think we'd have learnt our lesson. I'm hoping we've learnt our lesson. The players are that much more savvy going into next season, and I'm hoping that that the players will look at and realise that they have to get something from the game now. There's no more of this sort of sitting about, just hoping something will fall in your lap. They've got to chase the game, and they've got to go out and win the games for themselves, not just for the fans, but for themselves as well.
Absolutely. So how would you rate the Champions League campaign overall then? I mean, if you're at me, I'm thinking to me it's a disappointment.
Yeah,
because the group stage was good. Coming out of the group stage, drawing Sevilla, I felt confident.
Yeah,
I thought we could make it to the quarters, and if we got knocked out in the quarters, I'd still consider it a good season. Considering our squad is still weak when you compare it to the other big 8 teams in the Champions League.
Yeah.
But getting knocked out Sevilla in that manner, I just thought it just took the whole, because it was great to be back in the Champions League, wasn't it? After spending a year in the Europa League and winning it, it was just a great feeling to be back in the Champions League, back where we belong. And it was just such a huge anticlimax when we lost to Sevilla. It was so disappointing. I couldn't get over that for a while.
It was. I'd probably go, taking everything into account, I'd probably go maybe a 5.
Yeah, I'll go the same.
Just for the manner that we got through the group stage, as you'd expect, to be honest, though. But other than that, yeah, horrendous.
FA Cup, good run in the FA Cup.
Yeah, yeah, good. I mean, we beat the teams in front of us. I think the only really tough game we had was that Spurs game, which I thought we were superb. I thought it was one of the best games of the season. We approached that game perfectly. And it was one of those games where we went behind again early and we chased the game. And we played really, really well. And it's just frustrating that we didn't see more of that. And then the final, where we've just discussed the final. So for that,
I'm going to go 9. I'm going to go 9 out of 10.
Well, you're in the final, aren't you? You're in the final. You've lost by a narrow margin in a tight game. Yeah, I'll go for a 9 out of 10. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I would say 9 because if we played poorly in that second half, I probably wouldn't. But because we actually did really well.
Yeah.
And Chelsea, I'm going to say they were fortunate. Yeah. They deserved the win, but they were fortunate at the same time. Yeah. So yeah, I'd definitely go with 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what. Well, we just seen what everyone else said. Have you got any players in particular that you want to highlight, or for whatever reason?
What, in terms of across all competitions?
Yeah, across all competitions. Any players who you think have impressed this season, or any that you think have flopped? But I'll tell you what, I'll read out the tweet. I won't read the tweets we had yet. I'll wait till the end. But the tweet I put out, and I'll put this question to you as well, Ash.
Yeah.
With the season over, can you name one player that has impressed and one that has flopped, all based on expectation? You can name more than one if you wish to.
Yeah, and
it's based on expectation. So,
yeah.
For example, if Pogba was amazing, you wouldn't say he's impressed because you expect him to be amazing. Do you see what I mean? So, players based on an expectation of that player, who do you think has impressed the most and flopped the most?
Well, before this, I think we said we were going to pick 3, didn't we?
To be honest, I actually completely forgot, but I've already got an idea in my head anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I went with 3 each. 3 players that were pretty good, and 3 players that were poor. Do you want the good news or the bad news first?
Let's go with the bad first.
Okay, the bad news first. Well, based on expectation, again, and that's the key point here, like you said. My list consists of Alexis Sanchez, Paul Pogba, and a bit of an odd one. I think it's a bit of a curveball, but Victor Lindelof is my 3rd.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, those are my 3. Would you like to delve any deeper into any of them?
Well, give us your reasons.
Well, Sanchez, I think, and I don't want to say I don't want to use the term flop. Really, I think again, looking at expectations, I think he's done poorly. Whether that be, ability, mentality, system, whatever it may be, I thought he'd have done more in the squad. That's pretty much in a nutshell. I think he's had flashes of brilliance, where he's done okay, but on the whole, I think he's, we knew when he comes to the club that he would give the ball away and whatnot. But for me, he hasn't done enough attacking, if that makes sense. He's not run the lines as we see him. He's not run on the shoulder of the defence nearly as much as he did for Arsenal. And I thought, there's only 1 or 2 occasions I can really think where, he split the defence and went through on goal. And it was frustrating. It's disappointing because we know he can do it. He's one of the best in the league at doing it. So I think that for me is a big disappointment. Whether that'll change next season, whether we'll, flip the system and he'll be played in a new role, I don't know. But yeah, for a player, especially of his ability, it's not like he's coming into a new league. Obviously, he's going to take time to adjust in a new club, a new stadium, and whatnot. But it's the same league. He's been used to it for years now, and I've expected a little bit more and a little bit more contribution from him.
No, that's fair enough. Fair enough. How about your positives?
My positives. 3 positives are. It's going to be a weird one because it's based on expectation, but there wasn't. I'm going to be honest. There wasn't that many to pick from.
No, you're right. You're right.
I was tempted to put McTominay in. I probably should have, to be fair, but I didn't. I put David De Gea just solely for the fact that he's got the Golden Glove, the first one he's had, 19 clean sheets, and especially with the way we've defended on occasion and the defence that is in front of him, and just the manner of saves that he's pulled off again this season. I put David De Gea in. My second player is Romelu Lukaku. Again, expectations, we expected him to do well, but I thought in the way that our attack has been this season, I thought he's been, for most of the season, our only shining light. I thought he's been consistent, and for me, he is probably one of, if not our most improved player this season. From when he came to the club to now, everything about him, his first touch, his hold up play, I thought everything has improved. So I'm really looking forward to see how he does next season. And hopefully, if we bring in some decent fullbacks and some wingers who can give him some service in the box, I think he could be even better again. And then my third player is, which will ruffle a few feathers, I'm sure, is Jesse Lingard.
Right.
Yeah, it's again, this is based on expectation. I'm not saying he's set the world alight. He's been inconsistent at times, but you've got to remember before this season he was inconsistent every game, and he was very poor most of the game. But I thought he's done well this season. I thought he's been a dependable player, and especially like you said before, in that purple patch we had, I thought he was a big part of that. The game against Arsenal stands out. He bagged the winner against Chelsea. He is becoming that player that is good and he's different to the rest. The likes of Martial and Rashford, yes, they've got the legs. They'll run the defense ragged, but they haven't got the intelligence that Lingard's got for me. I think he's as daft as he is with his dabbing and his dancing and whatnot. He's got a good head on him. And I think he understands the game well, and he understands, attacking phases and running the lines and pulling defenders a lot more so than the likes of Martial and Rashford do. So, yeah, he's improved a lot, and I've been quietly impressed. Obviously, I'm always going to be frustrated with him for some of the things he does, but for the large part, I've been quite impressed with him.
Do you know what? You say it might be controversial, but I also put Jesse Lingard in the players who I think have impressed. And again, this is based on expectation. I didn't really have any expectations for him, to be honest. I never expected him to have have the impact that he's had for us this season. And as you quite rightly say, he's not been electrifying, but he's had really good moments this season where he's really helped the team by contributing with goals, assists, creating chances, creating space. He's definitely improved his game a lot this season. I'm not saying that he should be in the starting lineup next season. I disagree with that. I don't think he should. But for me, based on expectation, he's in there. Another player, Scott McTominay, again, didn't have any expectations for him. And I thought since he's come into the team, in the games that he has played, he's never looked shy. He's never looked... he's never lacked confidence. He always seems sure of himself. He gets stuck in. And I admire that about him. Again, not saying that he's a player that's setting the world alight, but I do think he deserves a bit of recognition from us as fans. He gets recognition from the manager. We know that, apart from that one time, but let's forget about that. But yeah, so McTominay, Lingard, and the other person I'm going to say, it was difficult for this one because he's impressed and he hasn't, and that's Lukaku. Now, he normally scores 20-something goals in the Premier League season every year. He didn't reach that this year, not in the Premier League at least. Anyway, he still scored enough. I think 16. In the Premier League, which is for a striker at the top level, you expect a lot more. And I think I did expect a lot more from him when we signed him. And because we all know who he was, we all knew how many goals he scores in the Premier League every season. He's always up there challenging for the Golden Boot there or thereabouts. But this season he didn't. He had that barren spell, I think, towards the end of December throughout January where he didn't score any goals. I think he scored 1 in 11 games or something like that, which happens. And we all knew he would come back to score in form, which he did. I think if he didn't have that little drought, maybe then he would have perhaps gone on to get 20, 25 goals in the Premier League. But the reason I'm going to put him in the fact that he's impressed is because through the process of the season, his ball control, his ability to hold the ball, his ability to create space, his ability to hold the ball and pick out a pass, all of those areas of his game improved a lot over the season. And we said it earlier in the season as well. That was one big concern we had, was that, that part of his game was quite poor. And that was a concern for us. But we did say, he's young and, he can improve on that, which he has, and it's a good sign. So it bodes well going into next season. So those are the three players that I've picked that have impressed.
Not to mention that Lukaku is the best crosser in our squad.
He definitely is. There's no doubt about that. The three players that I thought flopped again. This similar to Lukaku. This one where he's sort of flopped and impressed. But for me, I'm going to say flopped, and that's Paul Pogba. Now, people are going to think, whoa, hang on, man. That's a bit harsh. And I get that. But We signed him for 90 million from Juventus. We knew his record at Juventus. We knew what he was like there. And my expectations for him were extremely high. And we've only seen that for probably, much less than half the season. Yeah. We've seen that from Pogba. So that's why I'm going to put him in.
Plus the fact that this is his second season back at United as well.
Exactly.
So if it was his first season, you could say, yeah, he's got away with it. He's settling back in, but this is his second season, after signing last season. So it's that was a big reason for me putting him in as well.
Absolutely. So Pogba's one of them. I know it sounds harsh, but I just expected so much more of him. Yeah. And I don't think he is a flop, but just based on the expectation, it's difficult because a lot of the players in our squad, I don't expect a lot from. Yeah. Which is why I'm happy with finishing second. I'm happy with getting to the FA Cup final. I don't accept the way we went out of the Champions League, but I think we've had a good season based on the players we've got. To be honest, I'm struggling to think of anyone else that could call a flop because there aren't that many players. Okay, well, Sanchez was another one I was thinking of because for the majority of it, he's not really, shined. I mean, he's had his moments, but a lot of the time he's been a bit careless with the ball. But again, coming into a new squad like Man United midway through the season, when you're under pressure, that's not going to help you. So I'm not going to say, as with Pogba, I'm not going to say he's an actual flop, but based on expectation, he's underperformed. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I can't really think. Well, actually, no, I can. There's two players, Martial and Rashford. Yeah. Expected so much more out of them as well, but they haven't delivered. And you can say, oh, yeah, it's negative football, it's lack of minutes. But no, they've got loads of minutes, more than probably any other 19, 20-year-old in any other team. They've had a lot of minutes, but they just haven't delivered, neither of them. I will be fair to Martial. I did say a couple of weeks ago, didn't I, that I was impressed with his game. He's the only player on the pitch that I actually was impressed with. Yeah. And I thought that when he came on against Chelsea as well, although his final product was rubbish again, he did drive at the defence with the ball, and we need players like that, but players who can actually do something with it at the end. So yeah, those are the other two. So that's four players really. I probably should have said Martial and Rashford first. But yeah, that's what I think. Let's see what they're saying over on Twitter then. So I've already read the tweet out. You know what we're talking about. Players who you think have impressed or flopped. So first one then, Superman United at Superman United 7. Impressed Lingard, McTominay, Matic and Lukaku. Matic is a good shout.
Yeah,
he is a good shout because he's been our best midfielder this season. If you look at the stats and all that sort of stuff, he has actually been good. But the reason I didn't pick him, I did think about him, but the reason I didn't pick him is because I didn't really know him that much from Chelsea. So I didn't really know what to expect of him. I didn't realize he was going to be so slow on the ball. So that's why, that reason, the fact that he's so slow. And he had that period midway through the season where he was just, it looked like his legs had gone. I didn't put him in my impressed or flopped because I didn't really know much about him before he came to United. So yeah, impressed Lingard, McTominay, Matic, and Lukaku. This is Superman United at Superman United 7. Flopped Darmian.
Expectation, man. Come on.
Yeah. And then I wouldn't say flopped for Pogba and Rashford, but did expect more from them. Fair enough. Smalling was too erratic, and Jones was great at the start, but towards the end with the injuries, he just started to fumble. David Makings at Makings 101. Flop is Alexis Sanchez. He was so hyped, and either Jose's tactics made him worse, or he was burnt out with no impact. Impressed me. Great when he had confidence and was playing regularly. Sam H MUFC at Samuel R Hart. Pogba. Both impressed and flopped. Consistency is key. Gets too much criticism. Just let the boy play. Yeah. Billy Rock at Wilmart 647. David De Gea, Marcus Rojo, Eric Bailly, Romelu Lukaku, and Scott McTominay all impressed. Not sure about Rojo and Bailly because they barely played this season. Yeah. Actually, no, the beginning of the season, was that not the centre back partnership we had? Was it Rojo and Bailly with the two? Or was that last season I'm thinking of?
Was it last season?
Might have been last season. But yeah, they two actually worked pretty well together for a little while until they both
started. Were very, very good, yeah.
Yeah, until they both started to look like they were going to get sent off any minute. And then flops, Smalling and Jones. I think it's a bit harsh to say Smalling was a flop. If anything, I thought he's been quite solid this season. But that's fair enough, Billy. You're not alone there. A lot of people also think that those two are flops. Yeah, it's fine. And then Fion at Fion C. Lukaku impressed. Sanchez flopped. Everyone else, if you're listening, let us know what you think, which players you think impressed, which ones you think flopped. Again, based on expectations, what you expected from that player. So Pogba, if he was amazing this season, you wouldn't put him in impressed because you expect that from him. So based on your expectations, who's flopped, who's impressed? Tweet us at United Stand Pod, at Paul Gardner LP, at Ash Boyo. If you're listening on YouTube, drop a comment below and let us know.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it then, Ash, for reviewing the season. What were you going to say?
I was saying, for the season's review, it's I think that's pretty much it. We have got the other tweet as well that we put out, haven't we?
Well, that was what I was going to come to next.
Oh, sorry, carry on. I'm jumping the gun, mate.
Yeah, well, no, go over to Twitter then. Let's do it.
Yeah, so as usual, recording the podcast, what would you like us to discuss? So top of the shop then, James Buttress, JR Buttress 19. I go to the one underneath. He says, why do our players need so many touches when on the ball, only to play it backwards or sideways? It makes us so easy to defend against. And then he's included a little picture of Roy Keane, or a quote from Roy Keane saying, I think most top midfielders should be only taking 1, 2, 3 touches maximum. Get the ball moving. When I see lads taking 4 or 5 touches and slowing the whole game down, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, I think that's something that Mourinho is going to address this season. We already know that we're being linked with midfielders left, right, and centre. So I think that's something that's going to be addressed. Mourinho's obviously going to be aware that our midfield needs strengthening. We need some better talent, players that are aware, can read the game, can move the ball quickly. That will happen. Why do our players need so many touches? I think it's a combination of two things. Again, vision, looking up, being able to pick a pass, and also the players along the front line just not moving into space or coming too deep. We see it all the time from Rashford, Martial, Lingard, Lukaku does it, Sanchez does it. They're all running back too deep to collect the ball, leaving no one ahead of them. So there's a combination of those things. So I think once we get, but it's like a catch-22 because the players in front know that the players behind them can't find them, so they're having to come back and get the ball. So once that is tackled, and I think it will be this summer, with new players coming in, I think we'll see a more expansive Man United, a more attacking Man United next season, with less touches.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's hope so. And I think that one of the big reasons for this, and people might disagree with this, but I think a big reason for this is Nemanja Matic. And people will say that he's been our best midfielder, which he has. There's no argument from me there, but he slows our play down so much the majority of the time. Sometimes he will drive through and he'll play a decent pass and whatnot, but if you watch him, he's like he's running through custard every game. He is so slow bringing the ball forward, and he is a prime example of that player taking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 touches, just plod. That's what I used. That's the term I use for him, is plodding, because that's what he does. He plods through that midfield. He'll put a little burst of acceleration, maybe to nip past one player a bit. He slows the midfield down so much for us. And people will say, I want him in the midfield next season. If we were to replace him in the summer and get someone else who's going to hold that with some more energy, I'd be up for that. I think,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think he's done really well for us, but I don't think he should be someone that we build the midfield around. Not at Manchester United, anyway.
No, I would agree. Absolutely.
Next then, Riley at Riley_Kendrick. Fans are so focused on the negatives of the season, and I totally get why that's the case, but it wasn't all bad. Can you remind some of the fans of some of the highlights that occurred and remind them that it wasn't all bad?
Well, the first one that comes to my mind is the victory over City.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, definitely.
Victory over Spurs in the semi-final.
Yeah, Liverpool. Yeah, and especially that Liverpool game, because that was because it was so hyped up that Liverpool and Salah was in such his purple patch, and we just completely nullified them, which was quite. And I think it was nice for Rashford as well. Not having played a lot, local lad. Doing the biz at Old Trafford against Liverpool. I think that was a really good moment. I think that was decent as well. Yeah, I think any game against the top 6 where we were pitted, the underdogs, and we weren't expected to get a result, because obviously the media has blown everything out of proportion this season as well. They're loving this.
3-1 at Arsenal.
Yeah, a very good performance again.
The first 3 months of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Where we were blowing teams away, top of the league. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it hasn't been all bad.
January transfer window, being able to attract a player like Sanchez to Man United, despite the negativity around the club by the media.
Yeah.
Being able to attract him, beating City to him, that again is a positive for the club.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's plenty of positives to take.
Plenty. Okay, we've got Ike, Yeguala. We can't play this disjointed next season. Coaching has to be better next season. If Jose can't do it, then we need to bring in coaches that can.
I mean, we know Jose can do it. He's done it everywhere.
Yeah.
But he needs to have. You see, not everyone can do anything with every player.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how many players came in and out of our club, and Fergie was in charge. You know, he didn't sprinkle magic dust over every single player and turn crap players into amazing ones. You know, Jose will bring in the players that he thinks will suit what he wants to do. At the moment, he's probably only got about 5 or 6 of those, which is why we keep saying every game there's always half of the team that just look disjointed and unorganized and never clue what they're doing. So I think next season it won't be as disjointed. Again, it does hinge on the summer and what business we do in the summer. But I don't think it will be like this next season. And I said it last season as well. I said it or beginning of this season even, that it's going to take a couple of years, 2 or 3 years before we start seeing us getting back to where we should be.
Yeah.
And we should give Jose this summer to bring in some more players and see what it's like next season. I still don't think we'll win the league next season. I still think that City are going to romp it again. I think they'll probably go close to 100 points again. But if our football improves and we're second again, and we've got more points, again, more progress, getting closer to where we should be. So yeah, I don't think it'll be as disjointed next season. I think Jose will get the right players in, he'll get them playing how he wants to play, and then once we're winning titles again, it'll all be forgotten about. Yeah,
definitely, and I really do think that this squad needs ripping apart and rebuilding. I think it really does echo that squad of, was it 92, 93 or whatever it was, when Sir Alex Ferguson came second in the league. He lost in the FA Cup final, and that summer that year he ripped that squad apart, and that's obviously when he brought the class of 92 through. I'm not saying he's going to, Mourinho's going to bring you through, but it seems a similar situation where this squad has sort of outdated its purpose, I think, and there's a lot of deadwood in it that needs to be removed, and we need to bring in some reinforcements, maybe even promote some youth. So for me, I don't think it can be any more disjointed than it is than it has been at times. I said very recently that if it was up to me, obviously it wouldn't work, and it's not the business to do it. But 60 or 70% of this squad would go, because I don't believe they're good enough to play for Manchester United. And some of the replies were, "Yeah, but it'll affect the cohesion of the team." What cohesion have we had the last couple of months? Do you know what I mean? But obviously that's not going to happen. And I think with certain players, with other players around them with more quality and more ability, I think it will bring their game up as well. So very interesting summer ahead. Rome's, the Alexis Sanchez signing has been terrible so far. He's been pretty poor and also affected players' form like Martial, Pogba and Rashford. Do you think he'll be better next season?
Yeah, I do. I think with this, like I said, he came in mid-season, and it's not uncommon for a player to come in mid-season and not have a good and not have a good rest of the season.
Yeah.
He was unhappy for so long at Arsenal. That would have affected his morale and confidence as well. And then coming to United midway through the season with all that pressure, you could tell that he was just so eager to impress.
Yeah.
And I think once he's had a pre-season, once he's had a regroup and visit friends and family or whatever, just do what he needs to do to get back into a good frame of mind, have a pre-season tour with United, and then come back again with better players around him. I mean, let's be honest, there's Pogba as well. You can't just say that Alexis has affected Pogba and Martial and Rashford, because that was only for half a season.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say he hasn't affected it. It may have, disturbed the balance a little bit. But I think next season we'll see a different Sanchez. I think we'll see a different United next season.
Yeah, I'm really hoping so, and I think it'll all hinge on what happens. I think the Fellaini gate is slowly coming to an end, isn't it? And I think once he's out the way, that's Michael Carrick, that's Marouane Fellaini, that's two midfielders gone. I think it's gonna be a cause for us to rebuild that midfield, and I'm really looking forward to seeing who we bring in.
Absolutely.
And then last one, then Floyd Riley. Talk about how Jose has failed to deliver a dynamic, motivated, and youthful team. His immature and destructive dislike for players, LGV signed.
Louis Ganval.
Louis Ganval,
yeah. Failed to deliver a dynamic, motivated, and useful team. Of those three adjectives, I think I would disagree with two of them.
Yeah.
Leaving the one remaining adjective, dynamic.
Yeah.
I do think you're right there. At the best of times, we've been anything but dynamic this season. Again, down to player ability, I do believe. We didn't really see any dynamism under any of our previous two midfielders. It was all very static and boring and horrible to watch and disjointed, as it has been this season. For the most part. So I think you're on something there, but motivated, I think that's a bit unfair. So I think we've seen a lot of examples this season where the team's been motivated, and we've already discussed a lot of the results just literally a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Where the team was absolutely motivated, youthful. We've seen plenty of youth in the team. In fact, half or 2/3 of the signings that Jose has actually made, you could consider youthful.
Yeah.
Remember, youth doesn't have to be 16 to 18. Anything up to sort of 25, really, you could consider to be youthful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've seen Rashford playing, we've seen Martial playing, we've seen McTominay playing, Lingard playing, Pogba, Bailly, Lindelof. All these players, they're not old.
No.
So I think to say that he's failed to deliver a youthful team is completely unfair. I think to say it failed to deliver a motivated team is completely unfair. Dynamic, I probably would agree with.
Yeah.
Immature and destructive dislike for players. I think you might be hinting at Martial a little bit, maybe even Luke Shaw as well. But those sort of players, in those positions, Jose expects certain things, and if he's not getting them, then he's got every right to dislike them. You know what I mean? And when you say immature and destructive, you might be talking about his public displays of dissatisfaction in the media. I love that about Jose.
Yeah.
I really do. Call it as you see it. Don't beat around the bush. The players getting paid loads. Yeah. They can take it. If they can't, then they're weak-minded.
Yeah.
He's not the only. We said this before. He's not the only manager to publicly criticize players. Every manager does it. Right, but he does protect players as well. Yeah. In fact, he's known for deflecting criticism from the players onto himself, usually, or on something completely different. And then there was that one outburst he had. I think it was post Brighton, which we spoke about in the podcast, which is really the first time that he's actually let rip.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, fair play. He's actually had enough now. People just saying, because people thought that he was happy with the way we were playing. He clearly wasn't. But he didn't want to make that public until it got a bit much in the public. And he just thought, right, do you know what? Sod it. I'll tell him what I really think. Yeah. And I remember saying that in that podcast. So, that's what I think. But yeah, cheers, Floyd.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, and I think that's one point in the season that really does stick in my mind because of all these people, talking about Jose in, Jose out, whatever it may be. I think in that period of time when we were playing not great football, I think his dissatisfaction really shone through for me, and it highlighted for me that, do you know what, he's just as unhappy as we are with the standard of football that's being played, and I think that's what really sort of. There was no doubt I was never going to advocate, him being replaced or whatever. But I think him coming out with that statement and his mentality in that moment, that really made me not back him anymore, but it really solidified my belief in him. I think, and that's why I'm still, Jose in. And I think a big factor, maybe towards the second half of the season, and I'm going to leave. I'm not going to say anything else after this. But there's a big factor. What people have to remember is with our. Look at City romping the league. We're out the Champions League. Okay, we still have the FA Cup to play with, but for a large part of the season, we had nothing to play for. And what you've got to remember is the massive thing that's happening in a few weeks' time, the World Cup. Jose has actually said this himself, that players can tail off and maybe, lower their intensity and whatever you may call it, in the weeks leading up to the World Cup. So I don't think there's any surprise that we've seen a drop in intensity over the last couple of weeks and months, because I think the players, they've had nothing to play for. We weren't fighting for the league. Yes, we had an FA Cup final, which was a one-off. But I don't think, I really do think then that players' mentality has changed. And Jose has said this himself. He actually said it in an interview with Jack Whitehall. That's the only reason I'm saying that. But he was really open and honest about it. And he said he does believe that players' mentalities and their intensities will drop off in a World Cup year leading up to the summer. So, I mean, that could be something to take into account as well, looking at everything and what we've had left this season. So for me, I think next year can only hold better things. Make new signings, get a lot of signings out the door as well. A lot of current players. And then leading into nothing happening next summer, so they can play right until the end of the season and hopefully challenge for the title. You never know what will happen. So yeah, that's what I think anyway.
Excellent. I think that about wraps it up then. Do you?
Yeah, it does indeed. I don't think I've got anything else to add.
Cool. Do you want to give out your Twitter details?
Yeah, at Ashboyo, ASHBOIO as usual. So yeah, come and give us some. Yeah, come let us know what you think. If there's any more discussion points, chuck them over.
Yep, absolutely. Give us your thoughts on the season review, players that you think have done well, not so well, how you think Man United have done as a whole. Tweet us. You can tweet me at Paul Gardner LP, or you can tweet our podcast account at United Stand Pod. Also follow the main United Stand account at United Stand MUFC. And you can also get us on YouTube as well. Just search Talking Manchester United or United Stand Podcast. You should be able to find us by searching either of those terms. And yeah, if you are listening on YouTube, do comment below as well. Give us your thoughts. I think that about wraps it up. Unsure if we are going to be doing a podcast next week. Me and Ash will have a chat over the next few days and see what we think. But keep an eye on our Twitter account. We will let you guys know. So I think unless you've got anything else to add, Ash, I think we'll end it there.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Keep an eye on the podcast account for further updates. Cheers. Bye-bye.